What if you went to a haunted maze attraction only to find out that there was a real killer waiting for you inside? Unfortunately, this was some people's reality. The first story revolves around a 27-year-old male who would grab people by their hair and force their head against the walls or the tables inside the attraction. Once in custody, he said he only did so to get in the spirit of playing his character. But the most disturbing one would have to be on October 5th, 2014 in an East Los Angeles horror maze, when a 26-year-old male went into a Texas Chainsaw Massacre themed house with an actual chainsaw, unfortunately resulting in the death of 7 people. Every time you've been to a haunted maze, a potential psychopath could have been hiding under that mask or makeup. Don't forget to tag a friend who you'd want to go to a haunted maze with, and don't forget to follow and like for more horror content. Everybody remembers hearing the urban legends about the Candyman. They even made a movie about it. However, this is the real Candyman, and this is the true story. Halloween night 1974. Ronald O'Brien took his son Timothy, his daughter Elizabeth, and their 3 friends trick-or-treating. When they came up to the first house, no one answered the door. So Ronald told the kids to keep going and he'll get the candy for them. He eventually came back with 5 giant pixie sticks, one for each of the kids. When Timothy ate his, he immediately started vomiting and convulsing mere minutes after just tasting the candy, unfortunately dying before the ambulance even arrived. Unfortunately, the pixie sticks that Ronald had given Timothy had enough cyanide in them to kill 2 grown men. Ronald was found guilty after conveniently taking out a life insurance policy for his child. He poisoned and killed his child because he was in debt. The Liu family mansion in Taiwan. Built in 1929, this place has a heartbreakingly haunted history. Local legend has it that the maid was having an affair with her employer, which was the guy who owned this mansion, which nature by now has completely covered. And when the secret came out that she was having that affair, the maid threw herself down the well. But since she did not live to tell the tale, locals speculate that another family member actually pushed her down the well. But her spirit came back to haunt the family until they mysteriously fled the house in the 1950s, which has been abandoned ever since. Don't forget to tag a friend if you'd ever go here with them. And as always, don't forget to follow and like for more creepy content. Stay spooked. Who put Bella in the Witch Elm? Well, driving down Hagley Road, you will find this question put on many random places. On April 18th, 1943, 3 boys were hunting birds' nests when they came across this witch elm. One of the boys went to go look inside of it to find a bird's nest, only to find a human skull with hair still attached to it. When the boys finally notified the police actually found a skeleton, a wedding ring, and a shoe down there as well. And sometime in 1944, that's when Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm started appearing. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. There are many theories surrounding this, one of them being that Bella was actually sacrificed by a coven of witches. The other one being that since it was the 40s, which was a time of war, that she was a female spy who got caught, so someone killed her and put her in the witch's elm. As always, don't forget to follow and like for more creepy content. Stay spooked. The horrific story of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia. Designed to house 250 patients when it first opened in 1864. Fast forward to the 1950s when the facility reached its peak and had over 2,400 patients, living in overcrowded and inhumane conditions. So basically TanaCon. But seriously, some people were even held in cages just to house them. However, in 1994, the asylum shut down. But still to this day, it is haunted with the souls of the patients still lingering, roaming, and screaming around the halls. You can even take an overnight ghost tour from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. So tag a friend in the comments who you'd force to go with you. And as always, don't forget to follow and like for more creepy content, and stay spooked. Ghosts that have been blamed for the death of the living. This is the story of the Thai widow ghost. In 2013, a village in Thailand was terrorized by a ghost who had killed over 10 men in the span of only 1 month. All of the men had died in very mysterious circumstances. Some of them died in their sleep, while others were walking and just literally dropped dead. But all had been declared by doctors to have died of respiratory failure. And because none of the men had shown any signs of being ill, the villagers hired a spirit medium who told them that it was actually the ghost of a widow. The medium then told the villagers to hang red shirts outside of their houses to keep the spirit at bay, especially those who had sons. Apparently, they were most at risk. And in 2018, a different district in Thailand was terrorized in the exact same way. However, we can't be too sure if it was the same ghost. Don't forget to follow and like for more creepy content and stay spooked. The Hammersmith Ghost. The ghost that was almost arrested. Granted, it was in the early 19th century in West London's Hammersmith district. It all started with the rumor that there was a ghost going around town terrorizing the people, specifically in graveyards. People said that he had a glass eye and horns and would emerge suddenly from the shadows wailing and moaning. But these reports were taken so seriously that the armed patrols were sent out to arrest the ghost. They even tried shooting the ghost, which obviously went right through him and unfortunately struck somebody else, who supposedly is the new Hammersmith ghost who terrorizes the people of that area now. I could only imagine the news headlines for that. Also, don't forget to follow and like for more creepy content, and stay spooked. One of the most unsettling, mysterious, not talked about deaths occurred on one of the most haunted islands in the United States. Now, on Alcatraz, there is a portion of cells called the D block, which is known to be one of the most haunted areas in Alcatraz. And one of the final cells in the D block is for solitary confinement, where there is nothing but a hole in the ground for waste. And there have been many reports of a ghostly apparition patrolling that confinement area, who is said to have killed a prisoner. The inmate that was in there began screaming that there was somebody trapped in there with him with glowing eyes. The guards ignored his scream until an eerie silence fell. The next day, the convict had been found dead by strangulation. There were even fresh hand marks around his throat. Some people claim that the guard did it, but after a thorough investigation, they found that there is no possible way the guard could have done that. Don't forget to follow and like for more, and stay spooked. Mysterious deaths caused by ghosts. This is the story of the aged laborer. Bristol, England, 1841. An inquest was held after Patrick Hayes had died falling down the stairs. The wife of the landlord, named Mary Croker, said in her testimony that she heard the ghost kill him as he was falling down the stairs. When she had asked who had fallen down the stairs, she heard a voice saying, "It was me, and now I am dead." Mary had also said that the guy who had died had also seen the ghost before. She said it was the lady who wore a silk gown, who has also killed 3 of her former lodgers. Also, I just got back from Spirit Halloween and have been decorating the house like crazy. So if you guys are interested in seeing some Halloween vlogs from me, let me know down in the comments below, cause there's so much to do. Also, don't forget to like this video and follow to join the Creepy Squad. As always, have a blessed day and stay spooked. I am positive that by now everybody has heard of Mount Rushmore. But did you know that there is actually a secret tunnel hidden behind Abraham Lincoln's head? It was built in the 1930s and is almost impossible for the average human to climb to. It is an 8,000 square foot tunnel called the Hall of Records, supposedly holding replicas of America's most important documents and artifacts. Now, the guy who built it said he wanted it so that thousands of years into the future, when the new generation finds it, they can, quote, reassemble the American civilization. He even said that he wanted to be part fallout shelter and part time capsule. However, many people have their own theories as to what is actually lying behind these walls. Some people even think that there is a whole secret city made completely of gold. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Also, let me know if you've heard of this before. And tag a friend who you'd go explore this tunnel with. Everybody remembers playing Bloody Mary either in elementary school or middle school. And although there are many origin stories revolving around this urban legend, here is one of my favorites. Centuries ago, there lived a girl named Mary. A plague had fallen over the town where she had grown up, which she unfortunately caught. She was bedridden for weeks, slowly dying until the day finally came. Now, real quick, the wealthy were able to have a choice to choose a safety coffin to ring a bell in case they were falsely pronounced dead. Feel free to pause. Surprisingly, Mary had not actually died. So after she was buried, she went to go ring the bell and she was ringing it so hard that the string actually broke, which nobody found out about until weeks later. When her parents found the bell on the ground, they requested for her to be dug up. only to find scratch marks all over the top of the coffin with bloody hands and blood all over her dress. They put a mirror under her nose to see if she was breathing, and condensation actually did get on the mirror, which was her last bit of life attaching to the mirror. The Slaughterhouse Canyon in Arizona. During the 1800s, a family lived at the bottom of Slaughterhouse Canyon, also known as Luana's Canyon. Times were tough, and their father would regularly leave to go find food, water, clothing, and hopefully even gold just to keep them alive. Well, one time he left and never came back. And just like in any canyon, if you scream loud enough, it echoes back to you. Well, the kids were hungry, and they would try and walk around finding food by themselves. And their mother could hear their cries of starvation echoing throughout the canyon and echoing around in her head. It drove her absolutely insane that there was nothing she could do to help her kids or herself have a better life. And one day she snapped and murdered her kids one by one, and then herself. Visitors who come to this canyon say that the air is so thick and that they can still hear the echoes and the cries bouncing around the canyon. Some people even report hearing the mother murdering her children. This is the birthplace of the Jersey Devil. 300 years ago, there lived a woman who was married to a deadbeat drunk with 12 kids. And when she was pregnant with her 13th, her husband left, and she cursed her 13th child to be the devil himself. And in 1735, Mrs. Leeds gave birth to the Jersey Devil. At first he seemed normal, but minutes later he transformed, changing into a creature with hooves, a goat head, bat's wings, and a forked tail, growling and screaming before flying up into the chimney into the woods. Fair warning, I am going to be putting a picture of what the Jersey Devil supposedly looks like, based on a picture that somebody took. I know it's kind of blurry, but this is supposedly the real Jersey Devil caught on film. Some people say that he can morph into a really, really big creature or back into a small creature. And in case you might not have known, I'm doing origin stories to all these different urban legends, so leave a comment telling me what you want to hear about next, and don't forget to follow and like for more. Facts and theories about the Michigan Dogman. He was first witnessed in 1887 with a human-like torso and a dog-like head. And according to legend, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle on years ending in 7. And in Paris, Michigan in 1937, Robert Fortney was attacked by 5 wild dogs, and he said that one of them was standing on his hind legs. And according to people who have seen him before, this is the most accurate artist rendition of what he looks like. Now, what's really strange to me is no matter how much research I've done, I can't even begin to find an origin story for the Dogman. It seems like he kind of just came out of nowhere. However, I did think it was interesting that he showed up in a 10-year cycle in years ending in 7. Considering 7 is often a number symbolizing religion and mythology, and some people think that every 1 year for humans is 7 years for dogs. But anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and definitely let me know what you want to see next. Tailypo, one of the most unrecognized and strangest names in urban legends. So what is Tailypo? Usually described as being a giant dog with either red or yellow eyes, accompanied with pointy ears, a long tail, and sharp claws. Tailypo is also typically found in a heavily wooded area in the American South. What's also really interesting is the different alternative names that he's been given over the years, ranging from Tailybones, Tailypo, to Tabito. Which, funny enough, I grew up remembering the name Tabito, which made it really difficult to actually find the story. Part 2 is going to explain the actual story behind Tailypo, and my own personal weird experience, which will be posted right after this video. Urban legend of Tailypo. This story takes place with a poor, starving old man in the woods with his 3 dogs. While he's out hunting for food, he sees this giant creature, which he ends up shooting at, thinking that it will provide a lot of food for him and his 3 dogs. The creature then starts demonically screaming before it runs away back into the woods. The man then proceeds to go over and pick up its tail that he had shot off and decides to make it into a stew and eat it for dinner. Later that night, when the man is off drifting to sleep, he hears a rustling and a clawing noise around him, looking up to find that the creature is sitting right at the end of his bed, demanding the return of its Tailypo. The man then calls for his dogs, who come to his aid and chases off the beast into the middle of the night. However, only 2 of the 3 dogs returned. The man then tries to go back to sleep, only to find that Tailypo has returned an hour later, demanding with even more force the return of its Tailypo. Predictably, the 2 dogs chase the creature away, but only 1 returns. Next part coming in 2 seconds. The final part of the urban legend of Tailypo. Now that the 2 dogs are gone, the man is only left with his 1. And as you can probably predict, the same thing happened. The creature came back, which the dog then chased off, and now the man is completely left by himself. Just hours before daybreak, the man hears that same clawing sound one more time. The beast then jumps on top of him, completely ripping him apart. Legend even has it that the beast completely destroyed the house, leaving nothing but the chimney left. Supposedly, if you go into the woods on the darkest of nights, you can still hear the creature whispering for its Tailypo. And as for my personal experience, I just remember one time, literally right after hearing this story, I went camping with my family somewhere in California. And I remember just kind of wandering off into the woods by myself, and I came across this huge dugout in the dirt in the middle of the woods, as if a house used to be there. And I swear to God, there was absolutely nothing except for a chimney in that dugout. And I immediately ran back. Comment down below if you have heard this story before, and follow and like for more. Creepy conspiracy theories that Disneyland does not want you to know about. To start this whole thing off, nobody dies at Disneyland. Everybody who has died at Disneyland technically hasn't died there. At least that's what they want you to think. Let's say somebody has a heart attack at Disneyland and dies. Once they get taken away by the paramedics, hospital pronounces them dead. And since they were technically pronounced dead at the hospital, allegedly they legally died at the hospital. Another conspiracy starts at the Hollywood Tower of Terror, which is now the Gardens of the Galaxy ride. Supposedly, an employee had a heart attack while loading guests onto the ride. And it is said that the spirit still haunts the ride, specifically in Platform D, which now other cast members are even scared to go into that spot. Also, these are all just theories, so Disney, please don't come at me. You have a lot of money and that scares me. But nonetheless, there will be a part 2, so stay tuned. More creepy conspiracy theories that Disneyland does not want you to know about. This next one revolves around Space Mountain. Apparently back in the 1970s, there was a guest who went on the ride and never came off. Supposedly he had a heart attack while on the ride, and he is now known as Mr. One Way. And supposedly people still see him on this ride to this day. If you have nobody sitting next to you in your cart, supposedly there will be a red-haired man sitting next to you that you will most likely find in the picture once the ride is over. And yes, there will be another part to this creepy Disneyland conspiracy. Don't forget to follow and like, and stay tuned. Continuing the conspiracy theories of Disneyland, unfortunately this one is not a conspiracy theory. This is probably one of the most tragic things that has ever happened at Disneyland, which would be the death of Debbie Stone. It happened on an attraction once known as America Sings, which was taken out quite a while ago. Stone was working on this ride, which is a revolving stage, and she unfortunately got crushed in between the stage and the stable part. In case of you guys are confused, here's kind of what a diagram looks like of the stage. One part spins, one part stays still. Now, what's even more unfortunate is that this event was even caught on camera. Although she was backstage when this happened, there is still a video floating somewhere on YouTube where you can hear her screams as she's getting crushed, which I highly suggest not watching it because it is really disturbing. And personally, I think it's kind of disrespectful. You guys keep suggesting a million other things that happen at Disneyland, and I'm going to try and get through them all. So drop a follow, drop a like, drop a comment, and after this I have a whole new series coming up which I think you guys will really like. Finally, to sum up this whole thing of Disneyland conspiracy theories, we're going to be talking about It's a Small World. But first, some honorable mentions were Walt Disney haunting the firehouse, the kids who drowned at Tom Sawyer Lake, the actual haunted mansion, person who got hit by the people mover, and the actual skeleton at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. But back to It's a Small World. There's been videos and photographs of the person who was once hung from the ceiling here, and a clown with a help sign, which now has been taken out of the ride. But the creepiest thing is the amount of cast members that have said they've seen the animatronics come to life and blink and move their heads even when the attraction is completely shut down. There have been so many weird and creepy things I have researched and found out about Disneyland in the past couple of years. And honestly, I encourage all of you to do your own research and look up certain things because it is really interesting. Anyways, don't forget to follow and like, and tag a friend in the comments who you'd want to go to Disneyland with. Thanks for watching and stay spooked. This is the curse of the crying boy painting. The story goes that there was once this boy, and anywhere he walked, almost anything around him would catch fire. So people automatically deemed him the devil. And then some Italian painter named Giovanni decided to paint him. And as he was painting his portrait, the boy started crying. Supposedly shortly after, his studio caught fire, and the only thing that didn't catch fire was the painting itself. However, the curse goes that anybody who owns this painting, even if it's a copy of the painting, their house will catch fire, but the painting will be the only thing that remains. There's even a story of this lady who bought a copy of it. She hung it up in her room, and when she was downstairs doing some more research on the painting, she heard a weird thumping sound on her bedroom door. When she went upstairs to go check, her whole room had caught fire. After the firefighters came, every single thing in that room was demolished except for the painting itself.